The ad break has started. The ad break has ended.
Alright. Testing 1, 2, 3. Looks like we're good. We're back from it. So close enough. So, as the title says, I'm doing a server build tonight. Because all my parts are finally here. So, yay, I get to build my new vmserv. So, if you want to see, there is the new command vmserv, and that will send you over to the PC part picker list. So let's see how long it takes to build this thing, and when we're done, I'll probably do the OS install, and then we'll probably write out. So assuming all goes well, which you know how that goes. So let's get our cameras set. Let's see, we want we want to flip those. Overhead, face. There we go. So we'll get some stuff out of the way. So I guess, here, I'll pull it up here. As we go through this. So first off, we have our case. Pull things up here so I can see everything. There we go. So this is a Sliger CX213A. It's a mini ITX size 2U chassis. I already have the rails on it because I was testing that. And we got it in the nice white finish. So you should be able to see that. Yep, there we go. So first we need to take the cover off this thing. Yes. I think it's open. Okay, so let's grab our screwdriver. Take the two back screws out here and remember where they are. There's one K screw. And throw my screwdriver. Two K screw. Alright. Set that over there, and we will set the key screws right over here. There we go. Now, I don't think this model has it. Some of their models have a removable motherboard tray, but I think since this is a small form factor one, I don't think this one actually does. Unless those two screws are holding it in. But no. That's okay, we'll do it the old-fashioned way because it's a small case. Okay, so we've got our power cable, our front USB cables. We're going to want to cut that off. See if we can. Almost hit myself in the arm. Okay, cables are free. So USB header, power switch, power LED. Okay, nice. Nice and easy. So we've got our accessory kit. So we've got screws. We've got PCI slot covers. We've got more screws. We've got standoffs. Okay, so these must be the standoffs. So these are probably the motherboard screws. We've also got a set of rack ears, but as you see here, I put on the little rack handles. So you have nice little slot handles. My computer's beeping at me. Okay. So I'm guessing, yeah, so this must be the motherboard mounting screws, and then these are all your other 5mm Texas screws. So, motherboard. We've got good old, so an ASRock E850M Pro A Wi-Fi. Why? Because I don't care about the Wi-Fi, but for the price, whatever. So we've got antennas. Over there. We've got a couple SATA cables. Over there. Backplate. We'll keep that handy. Regulatory notes, installation guide, which might actually be useful, so we'll keep that one handy. And a shiny motherboard. Let's see, anything else in the box? Does not appear so. Okay. So we'll put the extra parts there. Need to move this keyboard somewhere. You go over there for now. There we go. Heatsink here, I guess, for these capacitors. NVMe slot, RAM, etc., all the goodies. So this will go right there. Just make sure we're doing this the right way. Yeah. Okay, so it's been a while since I put all these things together. Do it from the inside? Yeah, that's right, do it from the inside. Lining things up is always fun. I should probably turn it on. It'd be easier if I can see what I'm doing. Yeah, that's better. I think we are in. Back panel is in. All right. So, how's this? Okay, there's a cable there. Remember, oh yeah, there's the second. Okay, there just isn't a cover on the second NVMe slot. Which you can't really see, so let's get these out of the way for a moment. down, out. Remove. Yes, I know. How do we remove the fake CPU? Does it just slide forward? Fake CPU out of the way. NVMe cover. Okay, NVMe cover, check. So, we are putting a pair of Crucial P310 500 gig NVMe's. The plan is to put them into a mirror. And not very much goes on the base system, so they don't need to be very large. So this is probably overkill, but gives it plenty of space to work with. So, and if I decide to store a couple VMs, directly on the system instead of on the external storage, that'll be good to have some space. So. Blah blah blah, blah blah blah, paperwork, and that's it. Okay. These are short ones. I did not realize that. Well, hopefully they'll fit. Yeah, I did not realize these were the ultra short NVMe. Oh no, okay, no, they're normal. They just look short. Okay, so there's that. So we'll need to find a screw for that. And then this one is there. And gets the heat sink. Find the hole. Hole, where's the hole? Right there. Okay. Maybe I should grab my other screwdriver. Small screws. Always fun to get started. There we go. Okay, now, where did the other screw go? I heard it rattle off. There it is. Landed in the hole. Okay. So now teensy screws. Maybe those? Those kind of look like NVMe screws. We'll find out. Are you the right screw for this hole? Looks likely. Let's take the drive out. Easier to test that way. No. These do not appear to be NVMe size screws. Okay. I think these are all the same. Hey, yeah, that's all one packet. Okay. Maybe they're SSD screws. Okay, let's see anything else in here. Those are big. Those aren't. Those look big. Yeah, those are case mounting screws. Those are standoffs. I might have to run downstairs and find one. So we will hold off on that for the moment. Which is kind of funny with the motherboard button. Let's just double flip the box. Okay. Nothing in the box with the drives, which makes sense. Antenna, SATA cable. Just double check. Okay, no, there is nothing else in the box. So I will have to find a NVMe screw. Not a huge deal. So for RAM, Crucial DDR5 5600. 2 96 gig kits, so a total of 192 gig. Fortunately, I got all this before the prices skyrocketed. Actually, I should probably do the CPU before we do the RAM, huh? Or else they'll make that a bit annoying, I bet. So we'll set the RAM aside with the NVMe. My stuff's kind of all over the place now. So Ryzen 7 9700X. Okay, so which way does it go? That way. Right? Yeah. And of course, the obligatory sticker. So for cooling, we've got the Noctua NHL9 AM5, low profile AM5 cooler, which theoretically fits in a 2U case. It's a chunky boy. Small and chunky. Okay, so there's our power, motherboard power. So that's going to go, I think it's there. I think you take these off, don't you? I may actually have to look that up. It's been a while since I've installed a cooler. Fortunately, we have directions. And there's the part I dropped. We've got a ratchet. Metal sticker. That thing's chunky. Two lengths of screws. extension power cable. And thermal paste, which means I didn't actually need to buy a tube of thermal paste. I did not realize that until after I got it. Okay.
The ad break has started.
And ad break. So I'm going to read this while we're at the ad break. Remove the stock retention module. Put thermal paste on. Fasten heatsink. Tighten the screws.
The ad break has ended.
Okay, welcome back from ad break. So, remove the stock retention things. So we'll do these. Apply thermal paste. Now it says oh, turn the motherboard. Okay, so you put it on. So you actually put the screws in from the bottom. Okay. So they're saying you put a little dot at each corner. It's probably more than needed. No, that's probably way more than is needed. But I don't think we have like too much on there, so. So install heatsink. Now is it? plate just looks like the plate. So I don't think the heatsink itself is directional. I think that's just the design. Because they don't have a corner that's marked like, you know, CPU corner. So I think it's just line it up as best you can. Oh, I see. That's what the ratchet's for. Okay. This seems a little awkward. To be completely honest. Because you have to there's no like clips. You know, they're like, hey, put the heatsink on and then put the screws on from the bottom. It's like, easier said than done. Get some light on the subject. Well, I don't know my screw right away. When I put in a heatsink on, it becomes so complicated. right there. Right there. Okay, let's see. That was not on there correctly. There we go. 14. Let's see if I can get one from below. If I can get two on this end started. Got it. Okay, we got one. We need to get number 2 started. And then we should be good. Once you get 2, that means you're going to be pretty well lined up. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, because this will like wrap around here, or yeah, we'll probably put the little extension thing on it. We probably should have put it the other way. I'm not going to undo it now. it's like 3 turns on each side until they're tight. 1, 2, 3, 2, 3. It also becomes nominal being on the same plate stage, so. Okay, that one seems pretty good. Okay, that one's tight. Let's check this one out. That's tight. That's tight. Okay. Those all seem pretty solidly on there. Now this should be, yes, the CPU fan. Yeah, it doesn't quite reach, so. CPU fan, which we will kind of we'll wrap it around this. Yeah, and that'll be fine because that'll be probably up in the PSU or something. Don't use massive force. Yeah. Connect the fan to the motherboard. Okay. There we go. One probably well over thermal. Okay. Now let's put the memory in. Now that we're done futzing with the CPU. Yeah, definitely a good thing we did it. That would have been a pain in the neck. They do appear to be in. This way. And yeah, even when I got this, the price difference between DDR5 5600 and 6000 was insane. It's like, okay, yeah, I might get a little better performance out of 6000, but not at the cost of the memory. I was like, for what I'm doing, and the servers this is replacing, yeah. I mean, it's replacing a 10-year, well, okay, a pair. The only one's running right now. A pair of old HP Pro Lions. So, which when you look at benchmarks, this CPU basically benches like about 2.5 of one of the CPUs in those. Now I'm going from 2 dual CPU servers to a single CPU server, but again, one server ran everything I need to. I basically was just running 2 to learn how the clustering worked, and because and just to spread the resources out a little bit, because I had 2 of those servers, each with 96 gig of RAM. So they're dual Xeons, old dual Xeons with 96 gigs. But all my VMs would actually run on one server with about 4 gigs of RAM to spare. So the 2 servers, were well overpowered for everything I run. And so, yeah, going from those dual servers to just one of those servers like I've been doing, I was getting ready to do this. Is this a screw thing? Or is that just a... There's a little rotating thing here. Wait, oh. There is a screw there. I was trying to screw into a screw. I wonder it didn't work. I think. Derp. Oh, okay. Well, that doesn't make sense. Okay, what did I do wrong here? Oh, it's one of those. It's a twirl latch. It's a twirl latch. I'm an idiot. Yeah, it's just a twirl latch. You just put the drive on. And latch it. Yeah, okay. Hey, there we go. Don't have to find a screw. Okay. So that's everything that goes on the motherboard, except for the network card, which obviously we put in the case. So this actually has, what is it, just one? Yeah. I believe it's a 2.5 gig jack on board, but since this is a server, I will be throwing in my, this is a dual 10 gig SFP card that I pulled out of the VM server that I already shut down. Okay, so we are ready to go back to the case. Now the question is, do we put the board in now, or do we put the power supply in first? I think it'd be easier to put the board in first, because it'll kind of hold the power supply in place. So let's figure out let's find our standoffs. And by the way, on a random side note, for anyone that needs a good carry flashlight, Alight just released their Arc Pro series. It has a floodlight, spotlight, a UV light, and of course green laser pointer, which you can't really, there we go. And the base is magnetic. USB-C charging, also has a magnetic charging base. And a belt clip. I also got the holster. Because my pocket has a knife in it. So, anyway. Random side note. I've been loving it since I got it. Okay, what were we doing? Stamps. We were opening the pack of stamps. They kind of look like two different sizes of bagels. Okay, so there, there, there. Oh, we should probably put the case fans in too, huh? We should probably put the case fans in before we mount that. Does this snap off, or are there screws holding this in? To pop out. Where do you put this thing? No, you probably just put the screws in this way. So for case fans, we have a pack of these little Arctic fans. So this build is somewhat based off of one, okay, yeah, there's screws, that I saw someone do on YouTube. He was using a different case, different memory, you know, some of the build was a bit different, but I mostly took...
The ad break has started.
Oh, ad break. Okay, wait for the ad break to finish. So we need 1, 2, 3, 4 fingers.
The ad break has ended.
What was I saying? I mostly took the build he did and then tweaked it a bit. He was using a little different 2U case that could fit because I was designed could actually fit a like normal size power supply. But I didn't do that. I got the actual proper size power supply because it's a different case. I changed the memory. I think I used the same CPU, pretty much the same recommended cooler, different drives, because my use case is different. But, okay, so we actually need to take this back out. This, because one of the screw holes is there. It's kind of under it. So we'll get these. Okay, so I think that's all. I think I've got these in the right place. Okay, now what I don't remember, I think the fans go this way, right? I think they pull in from the back and spin out the front. So I'm going to put them all like this. Where do I put them? Yeah, because I could put them like this. It'll make the cables slightly neater. So these actually come in, you can get them solo or you can get them in a 5-pack. So I got the 5-pack since I needed 4 fans. I guess the other, well, this is also it's also a different board. He was using a 650 or 750, basically the previous generation board. But the problem with the previous generation boards is that some of them you need to do a BIOS upgrade out of the box for them to actually properly see the CPU. So the newer board you should. So, oh right, these do need to go. Okay, so the question is, how does my front cover come off? Okay, those screws hold down on, these screws. So it looks like it's just a pop. But it's also steel. There we go. So we've got our front panel. We've got our air filter. Dust filter, I guess. Alright. So now I can actually screw the fan. Screws. Also helps to use the right hole. Okay. One. I don't think that actually. Does this one actually match up with the hole? No. I think it's just the two corners. No, that might. So, pretty sure that is not a hole. I think I'm just doing. Yeah, okay. Okay, so we're doing the alternate corners. Oh, that was a standoff, not screw. Too many things in close proximity. Okay, so we're doing the two alternating corners. What are we? So we're what, an hour in, and we've got the board mostly assembled, the case standoffs in. Okay, yeah, we're doing pretty good. Of course, the other question is, where are all the fan headers on this board? Are there even 4 fan headers on this board? Or am I going to need to find like a fan controller? Don't you know? I did not think that far ahead. Honestly, it's been so long since I built something, and especially something with multiple case fans. That kind of skipped my mind. That's okay. So, I'm building this server, so this is, as I've said, this is the new VM server. I'm also, I have ordered a 45 Home Labs HL15 to be my new TrueNAS server, because again, like I'm doing currently for the VM server, my TrueNAS server is also currently an old ProLiant, and they're nice little machines. You know, they're cheap. You know, that's really what it is. Like, you can get one of these old minor DL360p Gen 8s. They're dual 16-core Xeons, and you can get them with like 64 or 96 gigs of RAM for like $200. You know, so they're great to play with, but they do have a few noticeable downsides. One being that you can't use third-party hard drives in them. Well, you can, but from my understanding, if you don't use like the proper certified hard drives in them, the system does not read them correctly, and therefore the system fan control does not work correctly. And they will spin the fans at 100% all the time. Theoretically, there's some way you can hack things to fix that. But, yeah. So there's that. And they're loud enough as it is, even when they are doing fan control. The things are not quiet. So they're noisy. They're noisy. You can't really use third-party drives unless you want them to be more noisy. They also have an onboard RAID controller to run the drives, which normally would be like, okay, great, it has an onboard RAID controller. The problem is that the onboard RAID controller, without, again, doing weird things to hack it, does not support just a bunch of drives mode. You have to configure RAID arrays. So again, you can't use something, if you want to use something like TrueNAS or any other Linux thing and just like, well, I just want to do hardware RAID or software RAID so that, if one of my drives dies, I can just swap it out and the OS will take care of it. Which technically you can do, but you'd be doing it with virtual disks that are created by the RAID control. So if a drive dies, and I have like 2 failed drives in my NAS, 2 of the failed drives on that controller, you have to, again, use the proper drives, which, I have spare drives. That wouldn't be because I've got 3 or 4 of those servers now. But you have to get into the RAID BIOS, you have to figure out which drive slots they are, because they're named weird. So you have to figure out which slots they are, swap the drive, rebuild the RAID at the hardware level, which probably means waiting some stupid amount of time, for array resoldering. And, yeah. And of course also, since they're old servers, it's not like you can, pick up off the shelf parts. If something dies, you would need to find, the parts for those servers. Which, again, not a huge deal. There's millions of them out there. But the one nice thing about those servers, well, one of the nice things, they are 1U, and they do come with a riser card with 2 PCIe slots, which is why I was using them for my VM server and my NAS, because my VM servers, like I said, I put these dual 10 gig SFP cards in. My NAS, I put one of these in, but my current NAS, which has actually been this way for like 10 years, for the actual drive storage, I use an old, I actually looked it up, I bought it 11 years ago, 24 bay SATA SAS enclosure, and then an LSI, HBA controller. So the 360, when I needed to upgrade and needed more RAM, I was using an old AMD PC I'd built, but it only supported 32 gigs RAM and I wanted 64. So I got one of those little Reliance, threw my SFP card in, threw my LSI HBA controller card in, and away it went. So that was, so it's got, pluses and minuses, depends on your use case. But yeah, for both servers I did decide it was time for an upgrade, because I wanted to get rid of the 360s, so I wanted to get back to something, non-proprietary and more powerful. So this should work nicely for that. And then, yeah, right, I was saying the NAS, I got the 45 Home Labs HL15, which is and I got it fully built. So it's actually an EPIC system, 64 gigs RAM, because RAM has jumped up, and originally I was going to do 128, but 2 reasons. One, RAM is stupidly expensive right now, and 128 gig would have added another $500 to the cost of the server. And 2, when I was looking, I actually talked to my sales rep from X Systems, the company that, you know, supports TrueNAS and sells their own servers. So I actually got a quote from him, which was, yeah, expensive. But in talking to him, the good thing was, in talking to him, you know, and discussing my use cases, like he even said, yeah, you really don't need 128 gig. You know, for what you're doing, you know, which is mostly just storing media and stuff. He's like, yeah, 64 is fine. And then I was reading a thread on Reddit, and some guy was, you know, where someone was asking that age-old question, how much RAM do I really need for TrueNAS? And one of the replies was somebody's like, I see this question a lot. I ran 64 gigs of RAM just fine on my server with 700 terabytes of storage. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, okay, 64 will be fine. So yeah, it's a Epic processor, 64 gigs of RAM. It is a 15 bay 4U chassis. So I won't have as many bays, but I don't need that many bays anyways, because I've been actually I've been replacing smaller drives with larger ones to reduce the number of drives I'm using anyways. So it is nice. They actually have a second variant now. They have the HL15 V2. It's actually a second version, which is, you know, the one I'm getting. That has the, you know, the 15 bays, 4U, 1000 watt power supply. It's a really nice machine. They also have a new HL15 the Beast version. Oh, okay. Which is a 5U chassis. They have two different variants. You can do the Epic build. You can also do a Horizon build on it, but it's a 5U chassis, and it is 15 hard drive bays and 8 2.5-inch bays. So you could load that thing up with hard drives and SSDs if you wanted. It's not a whole lot. It's like, for an identical build to the one I got, it would have been like, I don't know, $300 more or something. But, you know, when looking at my use case, I'm like, that's really cool, but I don't have a use case for adding a bunch of 2.5-inch drives. Because I actually do have a second NAS now. I have a Ubiquiti UNAS Pro 8 that is currently loaded up with 8 of my old 4 terabyte drives that I've offloaded from the NAS. And that's the one that once this machine is built, I will actually use that machine as my VM storage. Currently my VMs are stored on, you know, the TrueNAS box. So I'm going to move the actual VM storage to the UNAS. So the UNAS will basically just deal with holding VM storage, and currently I've got my personal home directory on it. I might move it back to the other NAS, I might not. I haven't decided yet. But it's working fine over there. But that way, my VM disks and the backups of my VM disks will actually be on separate servers, you know, which seems like a good idea to me. Okay, so I think we've got screws in all the holes that have standoffs. Yeah, so that's so hopefully sometime in the next couple weeks that'll come, and when that comes I will I'll pull out the drive it comes with, because it comes with a 1 terabyte NVMe with Rocky installed. I am going to pull that drive to use elsewhere, I don't know where, and I'm going to put in a couple, what was it I ordered? Oh, a pair of 128 gig NVMe's. to have a mirrored OS, because TrueNAS needs, I don't remember, it needs like 16 or 32 gig or something stupid like that. You know, people have been, well, the older versions, people were known to run off like flash drives or CF cards, but they don't recommend that anymore. Yeah, so it doesn't need much. And since I wanted to, you know, obviously I want a mirrored boot drive so that if one of them fails, it'll just, you know, keep going. And 128 gigs is way more than it needs, and they're dirt cheap, like $22. so that'll be that. Okay, so I need to get you lined up. There we go. There. We have a machine. Okay, so then we put the covers on the other slots. Oh, there's a straight one there. Yeah, but my pass-through is on the right hand side of the rack, so I'll leave it closer to this side. Doesn't really matter, but that is good to know. I do have a small slot and a big slot, so if for some reason I need to put another card in here that needs a full slot, I can do that. Now, are these also the slot screws? PCs have way too many different screws. These may not technically be the right ones, but they appear to fit, so. Actually, I'm pretty sure they're not the right ones, because they're not going very tight. Oh wait, or there's multiple sizes of screws in here. Is this a different size screw? No? Okay, so those are needle screws. These are standoff screws. Those look a little bigger. I mean, I suppose I could have, pulled up a manual. Yeah. Who needs manuals? If you can figure it out. Is this the right size? Yeah, let's find one. No. Okay. These screws do not fit. I'm pretty sure those are not the right screws. Well, yeah. They look too small, but yeah, maybe those are the right ones. I still see. No. Okay. Those are some other small screws. There's a couple types of this saw. The joys of screws, right? Like I said, there are way too many types of screws on a PC. And the standoff screws work. But yeah, there we go. There we go. Some of these are colored different. I wonder if they're the same screw anyways. We'll find out. So anyway, how's everyone's week going? Mine has been a little chaotic. I have one package and my sister has 4 packages that are...
CO2 is getting high.
Yeah, that's nice.
You should probably open a window.
Thank you, Jarvis. That say they were delivered? But, yeah. Just faster time. Oh, okay. But they never showed up in my mailbox. So they're investigating, trying to figure out, did they actually get delivered? Did they accidentally get packed with somebody else's stuff? Because there are a couple of people that have, you know, mailbox numbers very close to mine. So, you know, you could see that happening. Is that correct, or are they supposed to go through the front? I don't. No, they're not that style. What fell? Something fell. No. The fan screw.
The ad break has started.
Ad break. Wait for the ad break. While we wait for the ad break, we gotta just get some of this out of the way. These are the little screws.
The ad break has ended.
Okay, welcome back. And there's guess where that screw went. So, power supply. Corsair SF 750. 80 plus platinum. Safety and compliance. The actual PSU. Obligatory power cable. All the modulars. Velcro strips. And a SFX ATX adapter bracket. Interesting. And a rattly cage, which must be our screws. Silent operation at low to moderate loads. Right, that's one of the things with this power supply. It can actually, it's one that can run silent. So there's the front, fan on the top, and all the goodies. So I'm hoping that this is a fair bit quieter. I'm hoping this and the HL15 are a fair bit quieter than the old DL360s. Oh, and the other thing, I was talking about the new version of the HL15, the Beast version. It is louder. So that's also one of the reasons why I decided to keep the older one instead of opting for the bigger model. Because it was like 10 decibels or something different. Estimated noise levels. So the normal one came with a set of fans, but you had the option to have them use the Noctua fans or the Noctua Chromax black fans. So yes, it was a bit more expensive, but I opted for the Chromax because yes, because that's gonna look nice. Aesthetics is worth something, you know. Okay, so we've got zippy ties. And of course, screws. So, let's find our first screw. Where's my light? You are right there. There's another one around here. Maybe not. No, I think I'm just resting on it. Not too high. should actually work. I know that corner's good. Okay, so we do have 3 screws on each side. Okay. Fingers under the back there so I can catch that first one. Okay. And then we need to catch the alternate one. Somewhere around here. Did it? Maybe. There we go. Okay, good. Okay. Only 5? I guess so. So, yeah, so that machine's coming. When it gets here, I will install churn S on mirror drives, import my configuration from my current server, and then move all the drives over. Which means I will get rid of the old DL360, and I will be able to retire to reuse the 24-bay enclosure. Oh, there are 6ers, as well as the LSI controller card. So maybe I'll use one of the old HPs as a secondary file server at the church for backing some stuff up or something. I need to clean up the network over there anyways. I need to reevaluate all the servers we have over there and figure out what to do with what. Okay. So let's see. There we go. Now everybody's favorite part of building a machine, figuring out where to plug everything in. See, my flashlight grabbed a bunch of screws. So, what do we got here? So, USB, dual USB header, USB 3245, okay, USB 3267, oh, USB 32, okay, 6 and 7, 4 and 5, USB 7A, USB, okay. So this is the close one. And that is a USB 3.2, so I believe that is the one we want. Somebody's calling us. Okay. So the question, where are the fan headers? HD audio, possible LED. Okay, there's two. So that's a chassis fan. That's a chassis fan. Audio, other stuff, USB. That looks like another fan header. Chassis fan. Do we have a fourth? Is there a fourth addressable LED? Yeah, that's right, this is an ISIS board. It's got all the addressable LEDs and silly stuff like that. Do we have another fan header, or are we... Oh, yep. There it is. We have a... What are they calling that? Wi-Fi cables, kinda. They're calling that CPU fan. Wait, what's this? CPU fan 1. Cable, you are in the way of my label. Well, they're calling this one CPU fan 2, this one CPU fan 1. I honestly don't know if it matters. Probably doesn't. So let's here. And then we can put you here without getting the extension. Okay. On there. Okay. Yeah, okay, yeah, because this is actually the 4 pin. Okay. So that'll make our cables a bit neater. Because now this one's just here, kind of out of the way. these can sort of tie down under. Okay, good. So, power. I should just see right there. So we need, bother, the labels are all upside down. PCIe, CPU, motherboard. Yeah, okay. There we go. Turn that off for now. I have a suspicion that the video card in my gaming PC might be starting to fail. It could be a bad cable. Could be a bad HDMI cable. I swapped it, but I swapped with one that's not the most reliable to begin with, so I might have swapped a bad cable for a bad cable. Or it could just be the GPU is finally starting to show its age, which it's a 3060 Ti. So this afternoon I ordered myself an RX 9060 XT. Is this even the right thing? That goes there. Okay. That's a SATA cable. This is a CPU cable. Oh, is this the police side by side now? Okay. I'm going to okay. This is CPU cable. This is PCIe. You don't need. This is Molex connectors, which we don't need. This also says CPU. Type 5. These are CPU type 5. This is something. PCI, okay, that's PCIe. Okay, there's the CPU. least there aren't a lot of, like, on motherboard cables we have to fiddle with on this. That's way too much. ATX 12 volt and ATX 12 volt something heat sink. Maybe that's dedicated for. I think there's more cables. Okay, SATA. $600 two little dudes. I don't think that's what we're looking for. Let's see if they happen to get anything obvious. That's how do we install this CPU? That is not helpful. Okay, so this says CPU. And it goes in there. Okay. Okay, so that is it. SATA. Do we have a little? That's 8-pin. CPU. So this is the same one, and there is not another 8-pin port. So I don't think we have that. Pacing line E. Here we go. Is that right? Yeah, I guess it is. Okay, that's the only place it goes. Oh, and then this goes here. Okay. I got it. Yeah, that goes there, and then this is the main motherboard. And I don't know what this secondary thing is. I think it's something special for because it's labeled something heatsink, so I think it's something special for some sort of probably a water cooling or something. Okay, so we've got CPU in, heatsink seems good. Memory is in, seems good. Card in.
The ad
2
break has
NVMe
started.
drives. And an ad break.
The ad break has ended.
Alright. So I'm trying to figure out where our power cord is. So it appears to be That's a good question. I've never been good at reading these things. I think this gave. This didn't give a good. Oh wait, yeah it does. Okay, so you have empty pin, and then, so, you probably can't see that anyways. So on the block here, you have the empty pin, and then the next row, the next two on the bottom are the power switch. Okay. Negative and then positive. So what we're doing, we're actually doing another modification here, because I have a set of these. This is the GLINet Comet PoE version KVM, network KVM. So it's powered over the network. So you see it's plugged in. You plug in your HDMI cable, you plug in your USB cable, and then you can plug in one of a couple accessories. One of the accessories is the ATX board. And the ATX board goes between your motherboard and your power cable plug. And then it is powered USB off of the device, which means you can fully hard shut down and boot your device from the KVM. So, there you go. Okay, so I need the low profile bracket. Figure out some screws. Which way does it go? That would be the norm, yeah. So, that. Let's see. Yeah, so those should be the board connector screws. So I actually have 3 of these now. One is hooked up to the Pi, obviously without an ATX board. One is hooked up to the current NAS without an ATX board. Could probably figure out how to throw one in that case, but I don't know. It would have to be non-mounted. And then the other one for this machine. So we will stick you right there. taking a little longer than I expected, but you never know when you're building a machine, so. Okay, what do we got here? We got all sorts of cables coming off of this. Detangle. Okay, so manual. Probably just turn that light up too. Anyway. So the question is, which side is in, which side is out? Let me do a little QR code on there. It's just a QR code on the box. There must be a QR code it uses. It must be like the unit ID or something. Inside the box. Stuff, yes. Okay. So interface 4. So 4, yeah, connect to the control line of the computer. Interface 5, control to F panel. Four and 5 can be connected interchangeably. Well, F panel would seem to indicate that that's the motherboard side. Control line would seem to indicate it's the actual physical buttons. That's how I read it. So I think this side is supposed to be the actual motherboard side. So power switch is this. Power LED plus is it's Yeah, negative, positive, negative, positive. So LED plus is the next. So we want LED minus first. Power LED minus. So power LED minus goes there. Power LED plus is there. Hard drive LED goes right by that one. The other side. Look. Okay. And reset switch. Do we have reset? Yes, we have reset. It's probably negative. No. No, that one's actually flipped. Use that last one, you know. Just doesn't line up with holes. Yeah, in it. So key pin, reset plus and minus. Hard drive LED minus plus, power switch minus plus, power LED minus plus. I'm also questioning myself now. Because there's a single peak pin on this end too. That's and that's how it looks like they're saying, so Now, which way does it go? Here. Where's my... This is the power line. Which goes on this end. So that should be correct. So then we take our R, Hawaii. Power button minus plus okay. Hey, open. I am building a new XCP-NG virtualization server to replace a pair of two, except only one's running at the moment, old ProLiant DL360s that I was using before. Okay, so supposedly we have that all connected now. So we take our KVM, so we take the USB-C from there, we plug it into the USB-A for the computer. And then we take HDMI from the computer. Where are ya? To the KVM. And then USB from the KVM to the computer. Eeny, miny, moe. Then we use the super speed USB port. And then power. And then we'll see if this actually works. See if I actually plugged everything in right. So, over here, we get logged in. And then I'm going to pull up this KVM, which is currently going to say, hey, I have no signal. Hey, no HDMI signal. Yeah, no surprise. You don't have one. Okay, I have plugged in the power cord. I have turned on the power supply. I think that's on. Yeah, this thing is definitely going wonky. Oh, hey, there's an update. And theoretically, yeah, it's like blinking my screen on off. Yes, push the power button. Which did not do anything. Let's manually push. Okay, maybe I didn't actually have the PSU on. Maybe I left it off. Press the power button. Push it manually. Nothing. Okay, so we should try it without the card. As I should have done to begin with. Okay. switch, key pack, power switch minus, power switch plus. Which side's minus, which side's plus? That did nothing. Okay, let's look around. Nothing. Okay. So is the diagram backwards? Do they actually mean this end? So is it actually these two? The diagram's backwards.
The ad break has started.
At least it appears so. Okay, that turns us on. Compress turns us off. Now it says it's minus then plus. I'm assuming white is plus. If we're comparing it to next cable.
The ad break has ended.
Welcome back from ad break. So, which way did this go? Power button minus plus. Power button minus plus. Power LED minus plus. It's gonna be easier if I put this on first. I think. Okay. So power switch. Minus plus. And right next to it, power LED minus plus. LED minus. And power LED plus. And then reset switch. The opposite way. Reset switch. Did I go into that one? And then hard drive. I got these tangled. Redo that. There. Okay. Now we'll put these back on. Oh yeah. What? What? Short press power. Hey, it turned on. Now the question is it actually going to see a signal, or am I going to have to actually plug a signal on her? The fact that things are lighting up is a good sign. to boot the KVM. Directly to it instead of bouncing through the centralized interface, which bounces out of the network and back. Where'd my mouse go? There it is. Okay, I might be running a weird boot resolution. But it's not giving us like beeps. Or post errors or anything. Nothing obvious. There are these lights on the motherboard though, and I don't know what those mean. So let's do the, just to be safe. Let's try it without a stupid amount of RAM in it. Yeah, it might just be the KVM. But just to rule out it needing a BIOS update to see stupid amounts of RAM. Let's just drop it down to one stick. Our fans all seem to be spinning. But we're just getting that little, we're getting a light, which I don't particularly like. which ones those are. That does not help. Yeah, that's not what I have. Yeah, this does not have the code thing they're mentioning, so I'm going to have to do some research. There we go, there's the user manual. So, hey Robert. So according to the manual, it appears to be complaining about CPU and RAM, which is odd. Which means I probably need to I'm not sure. Mount and remount things. Let's try putting the RAM in a different socket. Okay, let's just to see if it's finicky. Let's put this back in the primary socket. See if that's what it doesn't like. Alright, so I'm going to have to do some troubleshooting. Red. Yeah, so it's complaining about, I think, both the memory and the CPU and the RAM, which doesn't make sense. Right? Because it's those two? Yeah. So I'm going to have to do some research and fiddle with things, maybe remount things, which is annoying. Let's just try one more thing. Let's just do the classic, remove any extra peripherals, just to be sure. And these sockets are, have a sockets number. I don't see obvious RAM socket labels, so okay, let's just try that. Same thing. Alright, well, that is going to take time. I probably need to plug an actual monitor and see if it gives me anything. But it's also not a particularly great sign. And that might mean it needs like a BIOS update, which I was hoping it wouldn't. Yeah, so it's doing the same thing. So, putting together a new machine here, and finally got everything together, and it does not appear to be booting. I haven't run through a KVM, so I need to connect it directly to a monitor, but yeah, it does not appear to be booting. And according to the lights, it is supposedly saying there's an issue with both the CPU and the RAM, which doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to do some research and see if I need to figure out a way to do a BIOS update and dig out an actual monitor to plug into it. But that is, yeah, so I'm gonna have to dig up a cable. So, I think that will do it for tonight. I mean, at least we got assembled, but I'm probably going to have to take it all apart. So, I will do some research. Alright, so I think that's going to call it for tonight. Which it is getting kind of late anyways. We went a bit longer than I was expecting. But, that's what happens when you assemble things. So, I don't see anyone obvious I want to raid tonight, so yeah, good seeing you too. So I'm going to call it here and clean up my mess and do a little testing and probably disassembling and, I don't know, poking and prodding. So, yeah. So, have a good night, everyone. And thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all later. Have a good evening and a good rest of your weekend.